Here you're like 18 and you're still doing it. Now you're just buying them all yourself.
Alright, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to channel 1031, the show where I interview other haunters about upcoming things in the Halloween community or things that they recently announced and things that they have upcoming. Today I have yet another very interesting guest that has a lot going on at this time of the year. He has over 90 animatronics in his collection. That's right, 90. That's a big one. He's got over 7,000 subscribers on his YouTube channel, and he's the creator of Wackys Wonders, and as well as the upcoming 2099 Haunt Stories for 2021. Ladies and gentlemen, my guest for channel 1031 today is MrHalloweenJunkie. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have a lot to discuss with MrHalloweenJunkie, or Joshua Harris, whatever you want to call him. A lot to discuss, a lot that he has going on right now, and I guess, without further ado, let's get into the questions. Alright, so I wanted to start off with a question that sort of gives some backstory to how you do what you do, give some backstory to the stuff you can see in your background there, some of the spooky stuff in your collection. So the first question is, obviously you have a huge animatronic collection that spans over 90 props. You've created multiple intensive haunt storylines that are super fan favorites. People love listening and watching them, and you have over 7,000 subscribers. So the first question is, how did you get into Halloween, and what kind of sparked your interest for creating scary things and loving this holiday so much?
Yeah, that's a loaded question. There's a few things. Number one, Spirit. I discovered Spirit in 2009. They're just the local store. My parents were like, want to go to the Halloween store? And, you know, we did. And when I went there, I saw a majority of the animatronics they had set up. I just immediately was fascinated by them. And on top of that, my favorite series at the time was Goosebumps. So I was already kind of easing my way into the spooky stuff. And then, you know, I got my first animatronic that year. And it just spiraled from there. Like, I started collecting every year, and then eventually I decided I could do something with this. I'm gonna build a haunt. And then the haunts continued to grow, the collection grew, my interest in horror and everything else grew. So it really, the roots it started at Spirit and Goosebumps and some of those things, you know?
Well, so I can relate to you with the Goosebumps. I assume you're talking about the original series. I can relate to you because I loved the original series. Definitely, again, something that started it for me as well, so interesting to hear that from you. You're the first person that's brought up the Goosebumps series, so that's definitely interesting. Spirit kind of was a part of it, and then Goosebumps was a part of it. So yeah, that's definitely pretty interesting.
I love Goosebumps so much.
So this next question...
such a huge part of my childhood.
Yeah, me too. I mean, it's so good. The original series is like, it's so cool. Honestly, I could still watch it. It's great.
Yeah, I love it, dude.
This next question, you just kind of touched on it with the beginning of your haunt. So this next question kind of ties into it, and the question is, you created the Wackys Wonders haunt for 2020, and for 2021, you were using the storyline called 2099. When did you start creating displays and building haunts? What sparked your interest? I know you kind of just touched on building your first haunt and how you kind of got started, but sort of, what created your interest for getting animatronics and then saying, I could put something together with this, and kind of what made you say, I really want to build stuff and I want to make it something people can see and other people can enjoy?
So, the reason I started was because of, at the time, so it was 2015 when I did my first haunt, and there were a handful of other haunters in the community who were putting together garage haunts, right? And one of them in particular was Mac, Hauntformer, and he was a friend of mine back then. We're still friends, but he was a very close friend of mine back then. And I remember he was doing these haunts in his garage, and I was like, I really want to do that. And So yeah, 2015, the first year that I did a haunt publicly. I did a mini haunt in 2013 for a Halloween party, but I don't really count that. It was just a one-off thing, like this would be kind of cool, you know. But an actual serious haunt, first time was 2015, and that was because of my friends around me who were doing it. It was just such a cool thing, like making scenes for the props, and it wasn't very good. I was 12. Whoops. Yeah, but that's what started it. I just did it that year, and it spiraled. I just fell in love with it. Just making scenes, you know, scene setting, and then the stories. That's a whole nother tangent. That came way later, but you know.
Well, I'll tell you, like, I kind of, again, it's another thing I relate to. I love designing sets, and maybe haunts involve more than creating a set. It involves especially when you go to professional haunts, it involves a lot more than just building the thing you want to see, other different parts. But I can definitely relate. I mean, creating sets, I think, is something that the whole community can really agree on that they like doing. It's always fun taking the animatronics you have and either building a theme that they can all fit into, or getting more creative with it and saying, how can I fit a scarecrow and a clown in the same thing, and how can I connect them all into one idea? And I think some people are really, really good at that, and I think, including yourself, you can get really creative with the sets you build and the ideas on how I want to connect this animatronic to this theme and make it have this sort of effects and this sort of lighting. And I think you sort of do that very well with the haunts you've been doing recently. And I think that's something that a lot of people really enjoy and you can really see in your haunts. This next question, again, you just touched on it a little bit, and it connects again to the past haunts you've done. And the question is, you created multiple haunt story videos for Wackys Wonders, and you just started doing them for $20.99. The stories, for people who don't know out there, if you haven't seen them, you should go check them out, but if you haven't yet, the stories consist of intense audio experiences that include animatronics interacting with each other, talking to each other, and sort of creating an experience that goes in on your mind, and you hear it all, and it's definitely really intensive, and I think it impresses a lot of people, and definitely impressed me when I heard them for the first time. What is the work that goes into creating these videos? How long does it take, and sort of how do you come up with the ideas to when it's published, it's out there? What is that whole process of beginning to end?
Okay, this I can talk about this for a while. So if we're talking about as of recent compared to when we first started, let's say for 2099 Chapter 1, right? The process that we went through for that. It was very similar to Encore. So it always starts out the same. It always starts out with the writing, which is, you know, I write the stories in full, and that's the first step. So that usually takes anywhere from, I don't know, a week to like a month or two. It depends on how much I procrastinate. But then after that, I send them off to Sador, who is my narrator, and he proofreads them, and then we go over the document, we make edits, we think, you know, oh, this phrasing's better than this, and blah blah blah. You know, we finalize the doc together, and after that, he begins his narrations. And with 2099 in particular, I have a couple of the characters. I'm voicing Grim and the Gatekeeper. So then I have to go off and do my own narrations afterwards. And then whilst this is all happening, I am talking to Karl, you know, Schneebly Juice on Instagram, the illustrator. I talk to him while me and Sador are going through this process. So then he's getting the illustrations done. And then Aiden, after the illustrations get done, we send them off to Aiden, who then animates them. And this is going to become a standard for the series ever since Encore. Aiden just kind of swooped in. He's like, here, I can animate for you. So he just became a part of the team, you know? So we send everything off to him, animates it. And then our newest addition, Andrew, who is making us a few custom tracks, and he's allowing us to use, you know, like his whole library of everything he's made. Of course, I have a whole selection of songs that I'm going to be using. And so we're kind of collaborating with him now. And so that's what it's like as a current. But when we first started, it was much more simple. It was just me and Sador, right? It was just us two. And I wrote the first 3 Wacky stories, and we were talking. It's like, hey, could you narrate this? And he's like, yeah, I'd be more than happy to. he did the narrations, and then by chance I met Karl on Instagram like a week before the first Wacky story dropped, and I was like, dude, your illustrations are amazing, could you do a favor for me? And he's like, yeah. And then we became close friends, so it all just worked out. Well, but it was...
I applaud you for it, because from what you just explained, and I had heard a little bit about it before, but now getting more information, there's a lot of people involved, so I respect the amount of effort that goes into it. And obviously, for people out there who have already seen them, if you haven't, obviously go check them out right after you finish watching this. But there's a lot of detailing in them. Like you said, the writing in them is like amazing. It's fantastic. And you pay close attention to the different references that are in there and how the whole story gets put together. So it's impressive, and I respect the amount of work that gets put into it. And it's really cool to get a behind-the-scenes look on how you actually build it all and what really goes into building your haunt stories. Alright, so this next question goes into a video that you recently uploaded, and one that's getting a lot of attention, and one that I think is really, really cool, and I always love seeing these type of videos on YouTube. So the question is, you recently uploaded an animatronic full collection video showcasing your 90-plus prop collection. How did you get into collecting? Obviously, you have 90-plus now, which is one of the biggest in the community right now. How did you get into collecting, and was there a specific animatronic that started your love for Spirit, started your love for any company, and sort of got you into buying and collecting animatronics?
So that goes back to what I was talking about earlier. In 2009, when I went to Spirit for the first time, and I saw all the animatronics, there was one in particular, it was the Reaper of Souls. I saw him, fell in love with him, I was like, you know, and I was 6 years old, I was like, Mommy, I need to have this, it's so cool. And she's like, okay, but it's $200. Mm-hmm. So then we asked the employees, they said, oh, we have a 50% off sale. So long story short, we went back on November 1st, got him, took him home, set him up. He was just like standing around the house all year. I was just so in love with him. Just kept going back to Spirit year after year. Progressively, you know, when we started out, it was just getting like 1 or 2 animatronics every year. It's very slow. Then over time, it became more and more and more. Mm-hmm. And it all started with the Reaper of Souls. He was my first ever Halloween animatronic, and I still have him. And he's in okay condition. I need a new one, but I'm never getting rid of that. I'm never getting rid of that dude.
Well,
he's awesome.
Your parents must have a lot of support for your love of Halloween, because you're the first guest I've had that said that their parents actually let them get an animatronic like early on. So obviously your parents knew that you were gonna have a future in Halloween, I guess, because they wanted you to have that one. So pretty cool. Rooting for.
I asked them about that at one point too, and they actually had an answer, because I said, like, did you think this was going to be a phase, or did you what did you think about it? And my mom at one point said, yeah, I totally thought this was going to be a phase that just ended at one point. It's like, but here you're like 18 and you're still doing it. Now you're just buying them all yourself, you know? It's like,
it becomes bigger and bigger. It just, the whole house is filled up with animatronics. It starts off small, everyone, and then it becomes something much bigger.
Yeah, and then I'm having to sell stuff. And it's just,
yeah, becomes much bigger than you already. When you first start, it's like, this is gonna be such a small thing, and then it becomes much bigger than what you ever believe it'll be. This next question again ties into like your animatronics that you have and how you started. And the question is, how long do you think you'll collect animatronics for? Will this be a lifetime love that you carry for the rest of your life, or do you think you'll eventually either get bored of collecting animatronics or say, I have way too much and I want to keep the stuff I have instead of selling it? Like, is there a limit, or will you ever stop collecting animatronics?
Oh God, I don't know. Like, see, as of right now, I wouldn't stop unless like Spirit stopped, right? I'm a Spirit collector. I don't just collect Halloween animatronics. Everything I own, except for like one thing I currently have in my collection, is all from Spirit. So when Spirit stops is when I stop. But also, I already have like almost too many. You know, it's like I keep selling and I keep buying. I keep having to thin out my collection to add more. But we're gonna get a shed in the backyard. It's gonna make it a whole lot easier. So. Short answer, I don't think I'll stop collecting. It's not in my foreseeable future. I want to keep collecting. So, that's what I would have to say. I love collecting.
Well, honestly, I think I can agree. I think I might be wrong here, but I tried to ask that question to a lot of people who collect animatronics. There's like a lot of animatronics, and I don't think I've had a guest yet that said they won't stop. So obviously, I think it's a thing where if you start collecting, you can't really get out of it. It just becomes like a thing where it's like addicting, and you're like, once you start, there's not really a way to end it. So even if you're gonna keep selling, like, you're not able to just stop. And I think everyone I've spoken to has agreed. I agree. Like, I don't think I'll ever stop. I don't even really sell a lot of my stuff. I just tend to buy more and more until I can't, like, fit anything. I was just cleaning out my closet the other day, and it's literally packed to the ceiling. It's like, it's sort of crazy, but, you know, I can't, I don't want to even, there's so much stuff that I love that I don't want to sell, so I just want to buy more and more. But yeah, I think all haunters can agree it's like addicting once you start, and you don't want to stop now. You just want to keep getting more stuff and the new stuff, and then you want to keep the old stuff too. So I guess people can agree that it's definitely addicting to start collecting animatronics. If you're looking to get into animatronics, do I recommend it? Probably not. Unless you have a lot of space, then start doing it.
It's an expensive hobby.
Yes, it's definitely expensive too. You have to have a lot of space for it, and you have to have a decent amount of money, because it's not the cheapest of hobbies. You can get into so many other hobbies that are relatively cheap, but not this one. You might want to avoid this one if you don't like spending money.
Yeah. I second that.
This next question is the final main question I have for you before the bloody bonus question. But the question is, obviously, your love for Halloween is insane. We've gotten into it, a lot of it in this interview, on all the different things you do. You have a huge animatronic collection. Your haunts are some of the most impressive that are in the community. So the question is, do you see yourself working in the Halloween industry in the future as a professional career? Do you see yourself working as a design person at a company, maybe running a professional haunt on an actual land plot? Do you see yourself working in the Halloween industry at some point in the future?
No. And the reason for that is originally when I was like 12, my dream was to own like a professional haunted house, right? But that's because that's far in the past. I always want to do a home haunt. I love home haunting. But when it comes to wanting to work in the Halloween industry, there's just nothing there that really intrigues me. If anything, I want to work in the entertainment industry. You know, I want to utilize my writing skills. I want to I really love cinematography, you know, film, being an author, or, you know, just anything in the entertainment industry is what I'm looking for. And I feel like doing the things I'm doing right now with Wackys Wonders, 2099, the haunts, these creative outlets are going to help me get there, you know. But even if I were to go big with something like that, that's not going to stop my love for what I like doing, you know. Like, I'm still going to collect. Even if I have, if I make big money in the future, you know where that money's going to. Spirit's going to be a much richer company than they used to be. And then, you know, I'm still going to do a home haunt. Like, there's just that stuff. I'm just not going to let go of it, you know? So even if I don't work for it, or, I mean, even if I don't work in the industry is what I meant. Like, you know, not going to give it up.
Well, like, I'll say, you're in an interesting situation, because you say that you want to work in the entertainment area, kind of in some sort of job in the entertainment world, and sort of, you have an interesting situation, because since you've done Wackys Wonders, the stories are such a unique thing, and then now you're starting up 2099, you sort of already have like a growing portfolio of these things that you created, and obviously no one else has really done anything remotely similar to what you're doing. So if you did have an opportunity to get into something like that, you have a portfolio of saying, I did this, and showing people these audio extensive experiences of, like, audio and illustrations and animation and these really impressive things that I think, at least in my opinion, would really catch the attention of someone who's going to hire you or someone who you're going to work with. And I definitely think you have an interesting situation like that, because you have like a pre-built portfolio of everything you've done in the past.
Yeah, thank you. That's one thing. That's one thing with 2099 that I'm kind of hoping for. Like, I feel like 2099, as someone who knows how the entire thing is going to pan out from start to finish, I think there's a lot of potential here. I think the story is very, not addicting, but it's very intriguing, you know? Like, I can just say with certainty that the finale to 2099 is going to blow so many things that I've done out of the water. Everything I've done, it's gonna be a huge. It's gonna be awesome. But that's one thing that I've thought a lot about too, is that with these things I'm doing, it kind of does act as a portfolio of sorts, you know? And that's why I want to continue doing them, because there's going to come a point where it's like, I can show you what I've done and the response that it's had, and I have all these positive comments to go with it that's, you know, like, I love these stories, all these things that really mean a lot to me. It's like, I feel like I have that potential, you know, and I have a portfolio that kind of backs it up, even if it's just a little bit. It's like, you know, it means a lot to me what everybody thinks about the stories and everything. That's kind of the drive that keeps it going. You know, if there was nobody that cared about it, I probably wouldn't be doing it. It's because of the people that are like, I want to see more. I want to hear what happens. You know, it's like, okay, well then I'm gonna make that happen. Even no matter how long it takes, it's still gonna happen. You know.
Well, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Everyone watching out there, you got a little exclusive take, 2099's finale. It's pretty awesome sounding like, pretty big, so look out for that. And I guess all the information you need on his portfolio, anyone out there who wants to hire him, you can take a look at all that, and I guess he'll be an awesome employee. So the bloody bonus question for Mr. Halloween Junkie or Joshua Harris, whatever you want to call it, the bloody bonus says, everyone knows that if you're bit by a werewolf, you become a werewolf and you turn into one when the full moon comes out. So, if you could pick any animal or creature to bite you, and it would make you turn into that creature when the moon came out, what animal would it be and why?
Probably a cat, because I'm a cat person, and I really cats are very agile. They're great hunters. They, you know, unlike dog. I mean, don't get me wrong, I love dogs too, but like cats, you know, the way they climb trees, like they're just so agile and so athletic, you know. It's like, I want those abilities. It's like with a dog, you can't really get that. I mean, you're ferocious, but it's like the cat, you know, you get the whole, you can do a lot.
Well, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Mr. Halloween Junkie would like to become a cat, be bitten by a cat, and turn into a cat when the full... Oh, my light just fell over. Alright, we're back. Technical difficulties, the light fell over, but we're back. Mr. Halloween Junkie would like to become bitten by a cat, and then when the moon came out, he'd become a cat and get all of those special abilities that comes with being a cat. Ladies and gentlemen, that's going to wrap up my video. Talking and discussing my interview with Mr. Halloween Junkie or Joshua Harris, whatever you want to call him. Again, new channel 1031 interview coming out every Friday, 6 p.m. Eastern, only on GMHaunts. More guests, more episodes coming out very, very soon, so look out for them. I got some cool guests coming. Ladies and gentlemen, remember as always, for everything scary, I'm GMHaunts. I see you guys later for more channel 1031 episodes. Goodbye.